I want to take you through building the colored portions of the quilt. Right now we're looking at the squares we made, and that's a nice geometric pattern, but it isn't a great design. Now when I call it a quilt, it's because we're going to put colored squares in each of the black areas, and when we get through we'll have colored patterns and look like a quilt. Let me remind you to put together your perfect page that has toolboxes on the toolbox on this side of the ledger or the screen. The color, the moment I've got white fill and a black stroke. You can bring the stroke forward and change that, and bring this forward and change it to black. Whatever you need to do, but be aware of the colors in the fill and the stroke. Right now, if I click on my squares, you can see that it goes to the black fill, which it is, and there is no stroke. The stroke is not uh, left in a shape very often in Illustrator. We draw with a stroke and we make shapes with a stroke, but we change it to a fill. And there's reason for that will show up as we go through. I've also broken out my arrows so that I have the white arrow and the white arrow with the plus along with the black arrow easily accessible. Because there's three, though one of them is going to show up twice, but that's okay. You at least go to the right arrow when you need to. I've also broken out the tool that has the reflex and the rotate tool. And then this one is the box, the rectangle tool. When you click on that, you get all of those other tools involved there, and we're going to be using those. So I have those broken out. I've also taken my where the rulers meet here and drag the crosshair to the upper corner so that it lines up the 0 out to 8.5, and over here it lines up 0 down to 11 on this 8.5 by 11 page. And also the palettes on this side, the Pathfinder Transparency and the Layer palettes here in this Pathfinder group, Character, Paragraph, and Stroke in the Character group, and the color swatches and gradient in the color group. Now I set this up every time, and every movie I'm making here for you to learn from is going to be set up this way. You need to do the same thing for efficiency. And so when I say go get this or go get that, it's already showing. There are a lot of other windows in here that where there's not a check mark here that's not on. Some of these things you will use and you will come and ask for them or not, but you don't want to have them all showing, and these are the ones that we'll be using throughout the course to build these projects. All right, now this is the perfect page and we're ready to go. I'm going to go to this page that now this group of colored squares is something you can download, this actual page, so that when you finish watching the movie, download this build design squares, an Illustrator file, and then you can pull from here the shapes and units that I've made. You can make your own, you can make your own colors, but I just want you to see how I go about this. We're going to make 4 different colors. One of them is going to be this star pattern with a circle and the square cut into quadrants, and then the colors change: blue and blue, light blue, orange, red, maroon, white, gray, and then the same thing only with a brown and green pattern in here, so that we have 2 identical star patterns that one is different color, only different by its colors. The same thing here with these squares. We have a large square and then 5 squares inside of that. The center one's in the center square here to the center, and you can see by the guidelines that they do come to the center. The stars in the center, and then another one with a different contrasting colors that we can then place, alternately place in those squares where we're making our quilt. Now, to make these squares, this is what I want you to end up with to start with. A black square on these are in layers, and there's the black square, and then a white circle. Now this circle I've made gray so you can see it against the white background, and then a black star. Now the way I would do this is to take my square tool and just come here, and I'm going to make one, these are the parts I'm going to use. I'm going to show you how I got there. The shift and the option key down together gives you a square that grows from the center out. And if you put that center on the guideline here, and let's bring in another guideline to say that's center, because we are going to have to put things to the center. All right, now you can see I have a black square. Now the next thing I want, and deselect that, is I'm going to make it white. See, I have a white fill, and get my circle tool. I want a white circle in the middle. Now go out of color, Command Y. You hit the Command key and the Y key, and the color goes away, just the line remains. Come to the center of this square and hold down the Shift and the Option key, and you're going to grow a white circle. Don't go all the way to the edge of the square. Just make a white circle. Now, because you're not in color, you can't see that, but you can see that there's a circle inside of the square. If I go back to color, Command Y again brings you back into color. You see a white circle in front of the black square. Now the last thing I'm going to do is that star, and I have to deselect everything so nothing changes. It's white and I want that black, so I come back over here to the black color bar and hit my, come on, just hit it there, up there. Okay, now it's black here, and I'm going to take my star pattern and put it in the center. I can see the center now because the white's showing me that. This time I'm going to hold down only the Option key, and I'm going to grow, I'm sorry, only the Shift key, just the Shift key. See, if the Option key, you get what's called the right angle star. With only the Shift key, you get a wider angle star, and the 5 points are sort of angular rather than square. So I want that Shift key down and giving me that star, and the star does not touch, and it grew from the center out, from the center point, does not touch the edge of the circle. So that's how you build this star square that's here. So you're going to make the square, then you're going to make and on the inside of that a white circle, then on the inside of that a black star. Okay, now that I have that, I'm going to take these away because there it is right there. Now, with the black square, you would take a black square and take your square tool and come to the center here someplace and build a Shift and Option and build a square. Then I would go out of color, Command Y, because you want to see what you're doing here. Now, deselect that first square so it's not doesn't have the bounding box around it or no anchor points, and make a smaller square in the center here. And not too big. Shift and the Option key, not too big, and make a square that fits in the center. Now we're going to copy that square 4 more times. Take the white arrow with the plus and hold down the Option key and click on that first square, and you're going to make a let's do this right. Option key, well, let's go with the black arrow. Okay, the black arrow, select it, Option key comes down, and you see where you get those double arrowheads, the white and the black. It means you're making a copy, and pull a copy off and just set it over here at the lower right corner of that first square. Option key again, and take the one you've made and make a copy and put it up on that corner. Option key again and pull one over and put it on that corner. And the last time, Option key and pull it down and put it on that corner. Okay, now you've got, don't get your squares too big or they won't fit inside the original square. But and if you have to, let's reduce the first square down a bit so you can make your copies. Okay, going back to color now. Remember, these are all black, so I'm going to select my square and the first one, and then hold the Shift key down, select the second one, the third one, the fourth one, and the fifth one. See, they're black, so I'm going to come over here and make those guys white. Can't see it because we're not in color, but Command Y, and now you can see that you've built the square portion of this. Now, what I've done then is I've copied the square portion. You can take your square portion and say capture the whole thing, and with the Option key down, just hit one of those blue anchor points and pull it over here and say, okay, there's that one. Now I'm going to deal with the colors. If you want to use my colors, fine. Here's how you do that. You select the back black here. Take this little eyedropper tool and click on the orange of that square. See, it turned it orange. Now come over here and select this upper left square only. Take that eyedropper tool and click on this orange, and it changes the color, and you can see it changes in the color box, the fill. No strokes on these guys, just fill. All right, then you select this green one. I'm sorry, select the one over here that's going to be green, and then take your color picker and do that, and you just go around to each of them, and the one that's selected, and then the one you touch with and click on with the eyedropper tool, that changes that color over. And so you can take my colors without having to go through a big color extravaganza at the moment, because we'll look at color a lot as we go along here. But I want you to see how you can make your own and still use my colors, because you're going to download this page and you can make your thing on this page if you want. All right, so that's how that takes care. Now the other one is just a copy of this orange one, where you make either the copy of the orange or the black. Let's take the black one and just option key, make a copy and bring it out here, and then copy these colors, the blues and the orange and the stuff. Since I've done that, I'm going to take that away. Okay, now with the star pattern, it's a little more complicated. What I've done here is I've gone to the navy blue that's in the swatches. Here's this navy blue here for the background. I've made it, left the circle white, and the star, I've made it this red in the swatches palette. Now here's a thing that we're going to do next to the star pattern. I've made a copy of the star pattern, and again I've just taken a marquee around everything, an option key down, and pull a copy up. And what I've done now is I'm going to cut this, all three of these layers, into quadrants. You see this line drawing here? Now this is strokes. If I click that, you can see they're black strokes and there's no fill. I did that so you can see what it's going to look like when you go to cutting your colors. We're going to cut these colors so that I can make this 4 different colors. There's dark blue, light blue, really dark blue, light blue, and we've changed it so we have quadrant colors here. Now the way to do that is I'm going to take my stroke, my fill. I'm bringing the fill forward, and see this little button here. I can make it nothing. Okay, that's a nothing stroke, nothing fill. That says I'm going to make an invisible line. Now what I'm going to do is take my pen tool, and I'm going to come over here to see I'm on this guideline, and I'm going to click at the top and release, and then hold the shift key down so it makes an absolutely straight line, and click and release out here. Make sure the line starts outside the square and ends outside the square. Now deselect that line. Now it's invisible, it's there, but it's hard to see. And make another one. Again, no drill, no fill, no stroke. And come here to the side, and I'm just going to estimate this real quick. Click and hold the shift key down and come over here and click, and you have another invisible line. Now it's going to look like this. You can see the line here because I want you to see that. But the reason I have invisible lines is because those lines are going to act like a knife cutting through the cake. And I don't want my line to leave any residue or color, so that's why they're invisible. Now if I take my marquee and I select the whole unit, including these invisible lines, then in Pathfinder there's a button here called Divide, the lower left button here. Hold down the command key, the Apple key, the key to the right of the right or left of the space bar, and click on that divide button once. Click, and what's happened is those invisible lines have cut through as if you were cutting a cake with frosting. And it's now, if you take your white arrow with the plus, you can select that quadrant and make it a color. Well, don't go to the stroke. Make sure you're not in the stroke. You're going to the fill. Okay, the fill color is selected. I can change it. Now I'm using the white arrow with the plus because when you cut this, it automatically groups all these together. So I can select just that quadrant and make it a color. I can select just that quadrant and make it a color. I'm doing this kind of fast, not the colors that I'm really using. But you can see how I can do that. The same with the star. I can make it different colors by just selecting the quadrant that I'm in, and bringing about different color changes. And the same with the white. I can go with, because it's white and black, I'm just looking at grays here. I'd have to make some more changes to go. If I went into swatches and said, make that quadrant this orange, see, it's selected, it will do that. So with this cut program, you can get to the point where you have your star, circle, and square cut into patterns. And then what I've done here is I've cut using this invisible lines with no fill and no stroke, and using the pen tool and the shift key to make click and release. And when the shift key comes down, click and release, it's exactly level, and this is exactly vertical. So here are the colors I've used in the scheme for the red and blue star, and then I made a copy of that. I just selected the whole thing, and Option key, and I brought over here level, but I'll put it up above there. And then I went through with the white arrow with the plus and selected this, and then took browns and greens and yellows out of my swatches and filled them in there. So that's the end result of making these squares so that I have my 2 star squares and my 2 5 squares in color. And when you open up your this page, this Build Design Squares, it's going to again look like this, and you can go back and build all of your pieces that you want to. You can virtually use mine if you really want to. You can just change these out, but you might want to play with your own colors and build this so that you can see yourself making this work. Okay, I'm going to end here with these designs, and then the next one we'll talk about how to put the designs together in that big master quilt pattern.